What's up, guys? I'm Jaden Stevens, and I'm joined with
Devin Ortega.
Jacob Roden.
and welcome to the All My Friends Are Warriors podcast. And on today's podcast, we're going to be talking about the three goats of stoicism.
Hey, speaking of goats,
Speaking of goats, I'm a goat.
got us three.
Yeah.
But so that makes six actually. But really, the three are Marcus Aurelius,
Seneca.
And Epictetus.
and Epictetus.
Yeah.
And I guess like the first thing we should start off with is talking about like them individually. I think our favorite would probably be like Marcus Aurelius.
Yeah.
I'd say.
I don't really have a favorite.
Well-
I think.
Oh yeah,
all of
they're
them.
all really good. They're all really good.
Yeah.
But we've
No,
learned most
shit,
about.
Trying to make me choose a favorite.
Dude, I'm not trying to make us choose a favorite.
What the hell's wrong with you?
Yeah.
There's just so much to admire from all of them. It'd be really hard to choose, but yeah, if I had to choose one, probably Marcus Aurelius.
And I think the reason why I would choose Marcus Aurelius is because we've learned the most about Marcus Aurelius.
Yeah, no, we've definitely learned the most about Marcus Aurelius.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another crazy thing to think about it, like them and practicing stoicism, they all came from completely different
Oh, yeah.
walks of life,
Yeah.
different situations. Like Epictetus was a slave.
Yeah.
Seneca, he was a senator and he was high up in the Roman council, but still he wasn't quite as high as Marcus Aurelius, who was an emperor.
Yeah.
That just shows they all were able to practice stoicism and they had completely different lives.
Well, didn't Seneca work for a super corrupt?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he
emperor.
was.
He was.
Yeah,
he
during
was
his time
younger,
in office. No. During his time in office.
Okay.
When he was a senator, Nero was the emperor.
Oh yeah.
Nero was one of, if not the most corrupt emperor
Yeah.
in like Roman history.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And then who was it? Epictetus. He was a slave, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
Well,
was a
didn't he
slave.
say like I have enough or something? Like
Yeah,
something
yeah,
along
he
the lines
was-
of like he doesn't need any more than what he has, and that's like
Yeah.
a slave saying that. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, because he already had almost like near to nothing.
Yeah.
But he found joy in his life. He was
Yeah.
content.
Yeah, and in a sense, he is correct. Like technically, like he did have like everything.
He had what he needed, and
Yeah.
he was joyful.
Yeah, he was alive. That's really like all like a human being needs. Like, I mean, of course, like water and food to keep yourself alive. But like if you're already alive, that's already enough. Like God gave you,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, a life. That's cool enough already. So
Another crazy thing, going back to Seneca, he was born, I think, like around the same time, if not like the same a year as Jesus. And when you look back and see all those like the quotes between like Jesus and Seneca, they are so close and like relate so
Oh,
much
okay,
to each
yeah.
other.
yeah, that's cool. And so yeah, that's kind of cool how Seneca and Marcus Aurelius had that connection, and they're like what Devin said that they kind of said the same stuff.
That was
No.
Jesus,
Oh.
Jaden.
Jesus, my bad,
Yeah.
my bad.
Take your glasses off. You can't even like hear with them on.
Yeah.
Take your glasses. Really, like they're messing you up, Jaden.
No, they're not.
It's
They're
the
tough.
glasses.
They're tough. Though. I like them.
You don't even know what you're saying.
Yeah, no. I actually have a screen in these glasses telling me fake stuff.
Yeah,
like I can
probably.
see. But I think like the thing with stoicism for me, it's helped me the most with controlling my emotions, or at least like helping me control my emotions.
Yeah, because there's big pillars to stoicism. I think
Yeah.
that's one of the major ones is being able to control your emotions.
For
Definitely.
sure. I don't remember which philosopher out of the three that we just said, what was their thing? I mean, I know that they were all big on like, I think it was Marcus Aurelius that was the one that said to control your emotions. Was it him? I think it was him, right? Well, all of them, but like,
all of them.
well, yeah, but like I'm pretty sure it was Marcus Aurelius that was like his main thing on that was to control your emotions.
I think his main thing was to keep himself in check because he was the Roman emperor,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and with all that, there's so much power. He has to be responsible with it,
Yeah.
Right.
and he has to keep himself in check because you see two emperors. One could be Nero, one could be Marcus Aurelius. It just depends on how they react and
How they analyze
handle
things.
with like that power.
Yeah.
Power definitely corrupts character. People who don't like people who have power but can't control like their power and can't use it for the good, they don't deserve that power.
Not at all.
And power is like honestly, for me, power is like a real test. Like if you have a lot of power, it's a real test to see if you're a corrupt person or not.
Yeah,
If you're gonna use it correctly or
Yeah,
not.
it's so easy to become a tyrant with all that power, but it's like a real test to see if you're gonna stick true to your stoicism, your
Stick
virtue,
to
and your
values,
character. Yeah.
I think that the biggest thing with having power is to not act like you're on top of like everybody else. To not act like you're cooler, not act like you just have everything, even if you do have everything, but to just be super humble. Cause like
yeah.
me personally, cause like I don't have like all the power, but like I do have some power, and I try to, I don't act like cool around other people. I mean, people might think I am cool, but I don't try to act like that. Like I try to be like super respectful and
Yeah.
stuff.
You're humble.
Humble, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing for me because I know I know myself, and I know if I don't like keep myself in check and don't stop telling myself to be like, hey Jaden, you gotta tone it down. Like, you can't act like you're cooler than everybody else. I know that I'm gonna fall off.
Definitely.
But I
And-
keep on repeating to myself like,
You have, yeah, to keep yourself in check.
yeah,
That's one of the biggest things when you're met with that like power of being emperor or being maybe just of higher status.
Yeah.
You have to really keep yourself in check.
yeah.
That's where like the philosophy of stoicism kind of separates it from being like a theoretical philosophy, because now you're not just like talking about it and theorizing about it.
Mhm.
It's actually being practical, and you have to apply it to life.
Yeah.
yeah,
Another person who really had to do that was Seneca. Seneca was sent away from Rome twice. First time he, I believe it was like tuberculosis. He had to go to Egypt. And as soon as he comes back to Rome, he is exiled, because I believe the emperors who he was like when he was growing up, I believe those emperors weren't the best. I believe they were also kind of corrupt with that power. And so he was exiled again, and he was set to live all by himself, alone,
okay,
on an island or
damn,
a coastal city, something like that.
okay,
But that's where it really put to the test of if he's going to stick to stoicism, stick to his virtues and morals.
yeah. I didn't know he got sent away from Rome twice,
Twice.
and
yeah.
like even then, like back to back, like getting back to
Yeah, as
Rome,
soon as he
going
gets back,
straight,
he got exiled again.
yeah,
And then I believe he was only allowed back because he was supposed to be the advisor of Nero. Because he was, crazy story, but he was actually the person who like taught Nero and who was supposed to kind of raise him up. And I don't know what happened if, I'm sure he taught Nero well and taught him everything he knew and
yeah,
he could help him with. But you
Yeah.
can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure as soon as Nero
Was
got
fine.
in,
Yeah, like you were saying, I bet as soon as, Seneca was done teaching and he was by himself, he'd choose the bad path. He'd go
Yeah.
down this path and reject
Yeah.
virtue and go down the vice path as soon as he wasn't with Seneca.
yeah, because as soon as Nero went to emperor, what happened? She hit
Yeah.
the fan, and he was corrupt. Once he got the power and a taste of the power, he let it consume him.
Definitely.
So Nero was not better than Seneca, but Seneca, like as a trainer, you want
you want
the person you're training to become better than you.
Yeah.
And
So that's kind of what happened, and then eventually, then Nero started to become corrupt because he didn't.
well,
Is
I
that
don't know
what it
how
was?
far along Nero got, but
Yeah.
Nero was
Pretty
definitely
dang high.
supposed to be put on the track if he was being taught by Seneca
Yeah.
to get to that place where he was above Seneca, but he just never got there.
Yeah.
As soon as he became emperor and had power, he just went corrupt. It
Yeah.
consumed
Yeah.
him.
Yeah, and also another thing that I bet why he became such a corrupt person is like the desires. Epictetus's big thing was rejecting desires that will lead to a bad outcome. So like money can lead to a bad outcome.
Yeah.
It depends on how you use it.
Yeah.
Just
You know,
all
like
of these vices, money, drugs, a bunch of women.
Like like drugs will like lead to bad no matter what. But like when you're in power and when you have power, you have to be able to say no to things. Like
Yeah,
when things get brought up to you, like
Yeah, you can have everything like a snap of your finger.
Yeah.
You can have a guy executed
Yeah,
for
yeah.
literally doing nothing. You
Nothing.
can just say, yeah, get rid of him.
Yeah.
You can say, yeah, give me all your money, give me your wife. Like,
Yeah.
the amount of power someone has as being emperor is crazy,
I know.
and it's keeping yourself in check and not being tempted, or maybe being tempted but not acting on this temptation,
Yeah.
not acting on these desires.
Yeah,
And
and-
also like when people get these opportunities with like money or like let's say like women or something, they're not like in their mind they're like, yeah, like that sounds cool. But then they also have that second voice in their head that's like, no, like look who you are, emperor or I don't know, like a well-known person that has a good reputation. And that's the second voice is always in the head, but a lot of people like to just push that away.
Yeah, it's always the quieter voice, because the
Yeah.
temptation, the voice of vice, that's gonna always be louder
Yeah.
in like
Yeah.
everyone's minds. But it's listening to that quieter voice that's gonna lead you on the right path.
Yeah.
Because the quieter voice in that situation is the voice of virtue. It's trying to help you and keep you on track.
Yeah, because virtue isn't always, it might not always be the fun thing, but virtue will always be guaranteed the better outcome
Yeah.
in the long term run.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because
yeah,
short term,
100%.
you get that short term gratification.
And it's always gonna lead you to bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Because you're gonna be like hooked on the short term gratification, like you need it,
Yeah.
and it's like almost becomes a drug,
Yeah.
because you have to keep going back to it and going back to it,
Mm-hmm.
so you'll never really get out. You're just digging yourself a deeper and deeper hole.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then if you don't get it, then you're going to be like depressed and
yeah, you're gonna let
sad.
yeah you let that like dictate how you live your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like when you're, when you do get that short term gratification, you get happiness. And happiness is good. Don't get me wrong. Like it's good to have happiness. But something that's way stronger than happiness is
With
joyful.
joy. Yeah,
Joy.
you see happiness. Happiness is like a emotion. It comes and goes, and joyfulness is where you're like content with your life and it'll stay. I believe Seabass like calls it a, what was it, bulletproof like happiness.
Yeah.
To where it just stays there. So even if something bad in your life happens, you know you're still okay. You're not gonna let that like make you depressed.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it's principle over circumstance.
yeah.
Exactly. You say something?
Yeah, like we were just talking about a little bit ago, like with Epictetus being a slave, if he was just to be happy, sometimes he's going to feel, that there's, his life's all right, but then at certain times he's going to be like, oh, my life's terrible, I'm a slave. But if he finds joy in, just being able to live, being able to do these things, although he's limited, he's going to be happy, and no, not happy, he's going to be he's going to have joy at all times.
Yeah. Well, that's why he was able to, like, he was able to be joyful, because he stuck to virtue and stoicism and character.
Yeah.
If you practice like virtue, it'll always lead you on that right path, I feel like, to finding joy and finding contentness with life.
Well, yeah, something big that, these philosophers had to learn. They had to learn how to change the perspective on things. And, like, as you guys know, like, probably my biggest thing that I've had to use in my life, and one of my favorite things that I've learned ever since I've joined the Club of Character and started practicing philosophy, is being able to change the perspective on things. So, like, people like Epictetus, he really had to change the perspective on things because he was a slave.
Yeah.
And he said, like, I have enough.
Yeah, I have
Like,
a good
you
life.
really have to change your perspective, because a lot of slaves, they're
Slaves are just like poorer people in general. They're always like, I need more,
yeah, and they're sad and
You have to do what who was it? Was it Miyamoto Musashi said, look inwards and like find yourself. Because once you really find yourself, you'll be joyful and you'll be content with your life.
yeah, and then also people like Bruce Lee would say look outwards, and so I would say that neither are wrong. They're both right. It's the yin and yang. You have to use it in certain situations.
Yeah, people say it's like what was it? It's contradicting. Like the philosophy contradicts itself sometimes. Like no, it doesn't. I mean, it does if you just look at it like base level. When you really start to analyze it, you see there is different situations call for different ways to look at something. Another thing that people say is very contradicting is what the Stoics would say a lot is preferred indifference.
Yeah.
It's being able, like, if there's money, like Stoics, yeah, they wouldn't need money. Like, if money was there, like, great. If they're working a job and they get paid for it, great. I mean, yeah, it's cool. But if they do that job and they still don't get paid for it, they're not going to let it make them depressed or sad or let it change who they are just because they
Yeah.
don't get that money.
Yeah.
It's preferred,
Mm.
but it's an indifference. They don't need it.
Yeah.
And another way, sorry.
What the hell?
And another way to explain preferred indifference is like, say you're, I don't know, this is just a random example for people who don't understand. Say you're at like a gas station and you go get a Slurpee and there's 2 different flavors and you don't go in and you say, hey, I want this Slurpee, but if you can't get that one, then get the other one. It's a preferred indifference. Like, I want the red one, but if the red one isn't there, I'll get the blue one.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't need the item or this tangible thing.
Yeah. So
I
yeah,
mean,
that's,
that'd be great, but you don't need it.
Yeah.
that was just a little example to kind of explain it.
Yeah.
So hopefully I explained it pretty well.
No,
Yeah.
it's horrible.
And then like going along with preferred indifference, I feel like that kind of goes along with what Epictetus was really big on. It was the dichotomy of control, because he can really control that he was born into slavery and that he was born into poverty and he didn't have much, but he could control how he thought about it, how he found, virtue, how he found stoicism, all things like that. So I feel like that's a big thing that he practiced, was the dichotomy of control.
Yeah, not being able, like, you can't control the outcome of things, but you can definitely control your effort and what you work towards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the dichotomy of control. That's what it is. Dichotomy of control, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
Dichot-
dichotomy.
Dichotomy of control. And it's not just in that like one situation. Like another, like one example that Seabass always tells us, if there's rain, like you can't control if it like rains, but you can control if you bring a jacket or a coat or
Umbrella.
an umbrella
Yeah.
or a good attitude. But you can't control if it's gonna rain or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what Epictetus really brought, was a good attitude about it, saying I have a good life, saying that my life isn't terrible although I'm a slave. Is he really brought a good attitude towards it.
Yeah, and that's where it's put to the test, because he's a slave. Like, nothing is really going for him in life except for the fact that he's practicing virtue and he's finding joyfulness. And
Yeah.
If you have a good attitude in life, no matter what life brings you, if it's good or if it's bad and you have a good attitude, then it'll probably like get better soon, because then you won't let it hang on to you for as long. Even though in the back of your mind you might be like, oh, okay, like this sucks, but because you're always gonna have that, that thought in the back of your mind.
Yeah.
But if you like present yourself, or no, not present yourself, but like if your first thought is a good attitude, and like you just have a good attitude at first thing, then the chances of that bad thing going away sooner are high.
Yeah, I think
That's
it
what
was.
I think, at least.
I think it was Seneca who was the one who basically along the lines said, like, if this thing happens to me, I'm not gonna let it change like how I act. Like, if this happens to me, okay, I'm gonna keep going forward and keep striving to what I'm doing. And if it doesn't happen to me, oh, that's great. It goes along with preferred indifference.
Yeah, exactly. Or also, like, I remember this story that Seabass told me one time, and then I started applying it to my life, is when I get calf cramps, I have a good attitude about it, and I'm like, is that all you got, bud? Like, I have a good attitude, and then it, like, obviously I'm in pain, but, like, I have a big smile on my face, and then it goes away quickly. And that was just a funny example.
Yeah, and like you're saying, with bringing a good attitude, that's how Epictetus really found joy. Is him saying that, I have enough. This is good for me, and then that I don't need more. That's how he really found joy.
And just to parallel that of Epictetus not having enough, but he was still able to find joy. Marcus Aurelius, he had everything, and he still didn't let it corrupt him, and he was able to find joy. He literally had anything at the snap of his finger.
Yeah.
Because he was the emperor of Rome. And you see Nero, who was corrupt, and who had the same power as Marcus Aurelius, but he chose to use it in the negative and in the vice way.
Yeah.
And then that's what Marcus Aurelius could have been if he didn't apply the stoicism and apply virtue.
Yeah.
Because they were both given advisors who taught them, who were they basically had internships where they were taught up and brought and raised to be the emperor of Rome. But it really came to that point where they were both emperors, and they both had all this power, and you see who it really corrupted, and it corrupted Nero. Marcus Aurelius didn't let it corrupt him. He stuck to his ways and stuck to virtue and practicing stoicism and character.
Yeah. Well, I mean, something to add on to that is I read this book. It's called The Practicing Stoic. It's a really good book. I would recommend it for everyone. But anyways, there was a story one time in that book, and basically there was the king was like walking through his town or whatever, and then this guy came up to him and poured a bucket of dirty water. I think it was dirty water on him, and he poured the bucket of dirty water on him. King got soaked, and he's all disgusting and stuff. And the guards were around, like right next to the king, like protecting him and stuff. And the guards were like, "Well, dude, like he just poured that bucket on you, bucket of water on you. Like you want me to execute him?" And the king was like, "No." And the king said he poured the bucket on the person
he thought
I was, right? I think that's what it was.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
because people mistake a lot of kings, like this stereotype, because a lot of kings are like
corrupt,
this.
yeah.
A lot of kings are corrupt, and a lot of people think that kings just want people dead at the snap. And this king wasn't like that, but the dude didn't know. And so the king said, "No, he poured water on the person who he thought I was. He didn't pour the water
on who he really was."
Yeah.
People, you always see people have these misconceptions about people that they don't even really know. They just stereotype them because they're in a high status.
Yeah,
ranking.
and there's also a lot of examples of like that, like what I was saying. Like a lot of people do think a lot of kings are corrupt, and so people are just used to that, and so they're just like
they
automatically
judge and do these bad things to them.
They automatically get a first bad impression, and when they don't even really know the person.
Yeah.
So, and that's also another thing. I mean, it definitely goes with all philosophies, but like just in general, like don't stereotype someone just because someone else that is like them might be bad. Like not all football players are bad, not all basketball, not all construction workers they're not all the same.
Yeah, everybody's different. It depends. Well, yeah, you see Nero and Marcus Aurelius going back to that again. They're both emperors, but they're so different.
Exactly.
They're literally polar opposites.
Exactly.
One was corrupt and one of the worst emperors of Rome, and the other is who Marcus Aurelius is called the last great emperor of Rome.
Yeah, and wasn't he also the most powerful man like in the world?
Yeah, at the time, I believe he was one of the most powerful men on earth.
Yeah. And so, I mean, honestly, if I was in Marcus Aurelius' shoes, like I wonder what it would feel like to have all that power. I feel like me as an individual, I know myself, and I don't think I would
be terrible.
I mean, if I had his knowledge and stuff, then I would be able to like do things better, like politically. But I'm talking like just
With
treating
that
people
power.
as a, just in general. If I had all that power, I think I would do pretty good.
Yeah, because you see, it really comes to it's like a test when somebody can't do like anything for you. Like they don't possess like anything good for you per se, but like how you treat them will really dictate. Like it shows who you are.
Yeah.
How you treat somebody who can't help you in any way will show your character on who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think one reason why Marcus Aurelius was able to, like have power but also be respectful is because he came, like from a very low life and stuff. Like he kind of had like nothing.
He wasn't born into power.
Yeah.
He was adopted in by Antonius Pius.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so he was able to like see what it's like from that perspective of life. So when he has the power, he knows what it feels like, and he doesn't want to be treated how
Yeah,
he might have got
he knows both sides.
Yeah.
and you were saying how he's the most powerful man in the world. He also, he had a stepbrother. What was his name? Lucius.
Yeah, Lucius.
Lucius. He split. They were, what was it?
Emperor.
They were co-emperors. They were
Yeah.
both emperors.
Yeah.
And when you see two candidates for emperor, they're like the same age, same status. They could both be emperor. Well, you have to kill one off. But Marcus decided to be co-emperors, and that was just something that was never seen during that time.
Mm.
So I think that's another great show of his character, that he had all the power. He could have been the singular emperor and been the singular ruler of Rome, but instead he decided to have a co-emperorship.
Well, talk about that one time in like what, 4th grade when you had gotten picked for student council.
Yeah, I was in 4th, or maybe it was 5th, one of the two. But I became student council president at our school, and Seabass. This was the first time I had really ever heard of that story, and when I really like started learning who Marcus Aurelius was, I had just won, and Seabass pulls me aside, and he's like, you know, it would be a great thing to do. It'll really show you like your character, and it'll show like who you are as a person. Is if you co-emperor, if you have a not co-emperor, but co-presidency, and you share with another person, and that's what I ended up doing, and it made student council run way smoother. It made the jobs of both the presidents a lot easier because there's two of them, and when there was a disagreement, we were able to solve it, and there wasn't just we pick one side. We found middle ground, and it made everything a lot smoother and just more clear.
Yeah, and if you do decide to do 2 presidents or 2 emperors, like make sure that you choose a good like candidate for that.
Yeah.
Because you chose someone older and that was responsible.
Yeah.
And it ended up being really good. And student council after that, ever since, or when I was at that school, it ran pretty dang well.
Oh yeah.
So
What was I gonna say? I'm blanking again.
What was it like?
It was about Marcus.
I mean, I have some things that I can talk about Marcus. I was reading, and like just some of the main things that he was.
I got it.
Okay, to make sure to remember.
Yeah, I'll remember.
But some of the main things was like take control of your actions and don't expect perfection. Don't expect perfection from people.
Oh yeah. Being patient with others, but being strict with yourself.
Yeah.
You know, when you're that status, you really have to be patient with others. If somebody gets on your nerves, you can just be like, get rid of them.
Exactly.
But or just in any situation in life, being patient with others but being strict with yourself really is important, because holding yourself to a high standard is 100% good, and you should hold yourself to a high standard, but don't immediately hold other people to the same exact standard.
Yeah.
Because they might not have the same training and the same like experience that you have.
Yeah.
So you got to be patient with them so they can get to the place where you're at.
Yeah. Is that what you're gonna say?
No, that wasn't. But that was another great topic. But what I was gonna say is, when Marcus Aurelius was emperor and he had all the power, you were talking about how if you were in his shoes, how you think you would do. I think he was able to perform so well as emperor was because he had meditations. One of the best Stoic books, I believe, that someone could read, and you guys should read it too. But I read it, and it's not an actual book that was meant for other people, but it was like his personal journal where he wrote these rules and everything to keep himself on track.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure if he did something and like messed up on something, like the day before, I'm sure he would go into that book that night and write, what can I do to not have that same outcome or that same situation happen?
Yeah.
And what can I do to mitigate my reaction to this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the main reasons why he was able to be such a good emperor, is because he kept himself in check. And when you write something down, it really helps it come to life. And when you write something down, it's like powerful. And it really just illuminates it and makes it more prominent, I guess. And it really helped him, I believe,
Yeah.
get to where he was at.
So I haven't read Meditations, but like I know that it was his like own personal journal and stuff. And me personally, I think that books like that are some of the most virtuous books because
Yeah.
they weren't written for someone else, like what
Yeah.
you're saying.
Yeah.
They were written for, you know, his own good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
to
then
keep himself on track.
It just somehow got found, and they translated it and they made it into a book and they sell it like at all those bookstores now.
Yeah, I think everyone should get that book and read it because those rules, I'm sure they'll come like they'll apply to your life too.
Yeah.
100%. Because though what he wrote down was just like his daily struggles and what he had to go through,
Yeah.
and he would write down ways to mitigate those struggles and fix them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and a lot of people think that, he was just a great person because, he was an emperor and because there was all this, great people around him. But a lot of people don't think about that he had to go through all these things, but then he went home in his journal or paper, whatever it may be, wrote them down, analyzed it, thought about it, thought what he could have done better, thought, how he could have avoided it and did all this just so when that happens again, he's going to avoid it and he's going to mitigate how he reacts to it.
Well, yeah, because he's at the end of the day, he's a normal person, just like me or you,
Yeah.
and he's still gonna have those day-to-day struggles in life. So I think writing in a journal and writing stuff down will help it become more powerful, and you'll reach your goals a lot sooner. On a prior pod when we had Dylan on, he's talked about how he would write his wrestling goals down.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, that just shows you that when you write something down, it helps it come to life.
Exactly.
Because he wrote those goals down, and then he proceeded to do those things. Just, I think it was this weekend, or he was able to get first in his wrestling tournament. So
Oh, yeah, and he
congrats to him.
He got this really cool belt buckle. So yeah, really
Hell
cool.
yeah.
Like that takes a lot. So yeah, big congrats to Dylan on that.
He talked about wanting to get that belt buckle too.
Yeah.
On a, last week, he literally said how he wanted, on the pod, he was like, that was one of his goals that he wrote down, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was also talking to my grandma about it, and he was saying that the belt buckle that he really wanted said champion on it, and he really wanted it. And my grandma the other day was like, "Hey, did Dylan get the belt buckle?" And I was like, "Yeah, he did." And she was happy about that.
Yeah.
But
you can really write things, when you write your goals down, I think it has a higher chance of coming to life.
well, I mean,
You
I
have something to strive for.
I wrote some football goals down, and I didn't really get any of them done, but part of that was because there were just some mistakes, and that's okay. I couldn't control that in the deciding of positions and stuff, but that's okay. I still tried my best, and I still think I contributed well to the team. But me personally, I've been thinking about. I have this journal right next to right on my nightstand, and there's nothing in it. And I've just been kind of thinking, if I want to start making logs, every day and just writing down, what happened in the day and, maybe something that I could have made better or, I don't know, just something to write it down. I thought that would be pretty cool. And then to just save it, when I get older and just write until the paper runs out. And so, I don't know. I think I might start doing that.
Trying to
But
be like Marcus Aurelius, huh?
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great goal to strive for. You see how much of a great man he is.
Yeah.
To strive for perfection, maybe not to ever be perfect, but to be the best you can.
Yeah. I definitely think my next Stoic book that I want to read would be the Meditations book. But also, aren't we going to start reading a group?
Yeah.
Aren't we going to start reading Daily Stoic, I think?
Either the
Ryan
Daily
Holiday?
Stoic or the life of Stoic?
The lives of the Stoics.
Lives of the Stoics.
Yeah.
And what's cool about the Lives of the Stoics, it has the three goats that we talked about. It has all their main books. It has, or I think it has their main books. It has
Biography of them.
biography.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has the letters of Seneca,
Yeah.
and it has Epictetus's discourses.
Yeah.
I have that book. I still need to read that one, but it has all their main books and their best books. So I think that'll probably be one of the next ones as a group that we decide to read.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bought a How to Be a Leader book. I think it was by it was by Epictetus. And I think
That might have
it
been
was-
by Plato.
Oh, yeah, no, it was. But
Oh.
I have that one too.
yeah, I did read that, or I read literally there's probably 20 pages left, but I read all of it in 2 days.
Nice.
but it's because you have the like English print on one side, and on the other side it's like the actual translation,
Oh, okay.
like the actual original, and I can't like it's hard to read, and so yeah. But I think either Meditations is the book that I want to read, or I think there's one book that Seabass was reading. It was like you read one. There's a 365 pages, and you read one page every day for each. You know.
Oh, the calendar book.
I think right now would be a perfect time to get that because it's the new year.
New Year.
Just
No.
yeah, calendar.
By
Yeah,
Leo Tolstoy.
yeah,
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 calendar.
didn't that book get like banned in communist Russia?
Yeah, Leo Tolstoy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I think that'd be another great book to read.
Mhm.
Honestly, any of these books about
Yeah,
virtue
literally
and
any.
philosophy,
Yeah.
for real.
amazing books to read because they'll help you better your life in so many different ways.
Mhm.
Practical.
Yeah, it's practical philosophy. It's not just theoretical philosophy where you're like talking about what came first, the chicken or the egg,
Mhm.
but you're applying things to your life to help better it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all these books are sold at like most like the Barnes and Nobles that
Yeah.
are around you and
Mhm.
stuff, and
All of them are basically, yeah.
pretty
You
much.
can-
It's
Me and
kinda cool.
Seabass, like, we used to, like, we had like a streak of going to Barnes and Nobles where we just go to the philosophy section and just look at how many books there were, and
Mhm.
I remember
I
for
think that's how I've built some. My collection's not quite this big, but it's getting there.
yeah, I remember my last 2 years of like middle school. Seabass would show up probably like every like 2 weeks with like 5 new books, and he was like, "Yeah, dude, I just spent like $100 on these books, and there's some cool books, but also like the obviously when you buy the book, you actually want to read the book, but all these books they're so cool looking.
Mhm.
Like I'm not like I think like the books you should definitely read the books. Don't buy them for the look, but man, they look cool.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that they look awesome.
Yeah.
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 So yeah, especially the 5 rings. I like the 5 ring, or sorry, not the 5 rings collection, but like the that collection right there. You have the 5 rings, but then you also have the other books. Like you have the with the Tao Te Ching and the 5 rings and the Art of War. That collection right there, right behind Devin's head. Move your big head, Devin. But yeah, so yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool collection.
Building
we
this
got back
library
here.
up for nothing, man.
Mhm.
We also got the Funko Pops.
Yeah, but to kind of circle back to the three goats, and like they all came from different, like as we said at the beginning, they all came from like different lives. They all had different situations, but they all applied stoicism and virtue to their lives, and they were all able to find joy and be
Mhm.
content with their lives.
Yeah.
So
For sure.
it really shows that even when you come from nothing or you come from everything, you can still practice these philosophies and this virtue and
Exactly.
practice character.
Mhm.
So there's nothing stopping you from it.
Yeah.
Strive to be the best you can be.
Mhm.
Any?
I don't think I
got
have anything else for this
nothing
one.
else.
I like this
Um,
one.
Yeah, this is a good episode.
Jakes, you have anything?
No, I
Got
think I'm
anything,
good.
Jakes?
Got
Think I'm
anything,
good.
Jakes?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, to conclude, thank you guys for tuning in, watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Go follow us on Insta, and peace out.